I can still hear the laughter echoing through the halls of my childhood home, sharp, relentless like blades cutting through the gloom of my crumbling sanity. It was the day I had revealed my obsession with analyzing paranormal signals, that eerie phenomenon of sirens wailing on windless, moonless nights. To them, it was a strange fixation bordering on madness. "You'll disgrace the family," my brother sneered, his voice thick with contempt. "You're losing your mind. Pick up a normal hobby." Years of their derision loomed over me like a dark cloud, suffocating and claustrophobic. I had become the family outcast, the crazy one chasing ghosts in the dark. But there was a cold fire in my desperation, a gnawing need to uncover the truth about the sirens. Each night, as I listened to the recordings, I felt a pulsing beneath the surface of reality, an understanding that the world around me was more complex and dark than anyone could conceive. It wasn't until I immersed myself in the studies of signal analysis, mapping anomalies with meticulous care, that everything began to unravel. I discovered that these sirens were not merely a cruel joke of fate, but harbingers of doom warnings transmitted to those who dared to listen, indicating calamity and despair. I became renowned for my insights, and as the years passed, my name slowly transformed from disgrace to a haunting whisper of truth. Still, the cost of that recognition was steep, and the weight of what I had unearthed hung over me like a shroud. Now, on the cusp of returning home, I felt the echoes of my family's ridicule blend with the darkness I had encountered. I had survived encounters that would make the bravest of men quiver, and yet the thought of facing them filled me with dread. But it was time for them to learn that the monster they mocked had teeth sharper than they could imagine. The day I arrived, the sky was a bruised purple, the air thick with unspoken words as I stepped out of my car. My family was gathered out front, their expressions a mix of surprise and disdain. The familiar house stood like a gaunt figure in the fading light, but it felt different, larger, more ominous, like a beast awake and hungry. "Look who finally decided to show up," my sister said, her tone laced with sarcasm. The ghost whisperer. They had never taken my work seriously, and part of me braced for their mockery to resume. What they didn't know was I had brought something with me, an artifact of my research, a recording of the sirens that had once haunted my nights and now filled my every waking thought with dread. "Listen," I urged, fumbling for the device that had become an extension of my very soul. "This isn't just nonsense. I need you to hear this. The warnings are real." My brother rolled his eyes, while my father folded his arms, a fortress of skepticism. "Enough of this nonsense. You should be ashamed of what you've become." His words were a knife, but I pressed on, desperate to show them the truth. I switched on the recording, the mechanical whir quieting the air as it began to play. At first, it was just a haunting sequence of wails mixed with static, an unsettling soundscape that danced between the ethereal and the terrifying. But as it played, something shifted. The air thickened, and a sense of foreboding filled the space around us. I watched their expressions change from mockery to confusion, eyes wide with recognition of something they could not grasp. The wailing intensified, almost as if the sirens had awakened in response to our presence. Suddenly, the lights in the house flickered, and I caught a glimpse of shadows dancing behind the curtains. A chill slithered down my spine, and I felt the weight of my knowledge pressing against my chest like a vice. "Shut it off!" my brother yelled, but his voice was drowned by the rising cacophony. "You're scaring everyone!" He stepped back, as if retreating from something unseen and terrible. The room went dark, save for the glow of the recording device, illuminating our faces with an eerie light. I could feel the temperature drop, a palpable dread wrapping itself around us. And then, as if the very fabric of reality was tearing apart, the walls started to hum, a deep, resonant sound that matched the timbre of the sirens. "Those who disregard the warnings will pay the price," I whispered, a bitter taste flooding my mouth. Suddenly the doors swung open, revealing a void, an abyss of darkness where shadows coiled like tendrils, reaching, grasping, hungry. The room trembled as the sound of the sirens enveloped us, echoing with the desperate cries of those long lost to despair. I turned to my family, their faces pale, etched with disbelief. They could no longer dismiss the sirens as mere figments of a delusional mind. The terror I had spoken of was unfurling before them, a living nightmare that they now understood to their core. "See," I breathed, tears blurring my vision. "You shunned me, but I was trying to warn you." As the shadows surged forward, the last vestiges of their denial shattered. I barely had the strength to face the truth that loomed over us. My family would now feel the bitter sting of their ridicule. The recording stopped abruptly, leaving us in engulfing silence, but the darkness remained, pulsing with the weight of unheeded warnings. And then I knew this was my ultimate triumph. I had uncovered the truth behind the sirens, a truth that was now a part of me. A burden I could bear alone no longer. As the darkness retreated, leaving only a flicker of light behind, I knew I had become what they feared, a beacon of knowledge, a living paradox. My family, now witnesses to the horrors that lay beyond their ignorance, would forever bear the weight of their disbelief. As I turned to leave, I could hear their voices breaking, filled with the dread of recognition. But it was too late. I had returned, not as the disgrace they once knew, but as a harbinger of the very horrors they thought they could laugh away. And within that haunting moment, I understood the bitter truth. Sometimes the shadows we chase elude